Hi, and welcome to this essential oil question and answer period. My name is Jessie. I'm an aromatherapist by training. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and I create minimally biased, no nonsense educational content on essential oils because I believe people should not have to formally study aromatherapy just to have the basics on essential oils and essential oil safety. So anyone's here and they have any questions, feel free to say hi. Feel free to ask different questions. So I have different questions already asked for me through Instagram, so I'll be pulling those up as we go. And of course, if you're watching the replay, you can play this on double time speed because this is unedited. So playback speed ×2. The first one is, did you switch from MLM company, a certain MLM company, to Revive and Plant Therapy just for the pricing, or are they actually better in other ways? So this is a question that I was asked on my Instagram because they know that I've switched different companies. And I'm going to start with a quick disclaimer, share my philosophy on essential oil brands, and then after that, I'll be answering your questions while referring you to different videos that you might find interesting. So a quick disclaimer here, I don't know why I wish this wasn't the case, but I feel like essential oil brands are a really heated topic, really kind of controversial. If you like this brand and people aren't happy about it, I don't know, I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. My philosophy is if you're using a real pure essential oil and you love it, you use what you love. That's what's really important to me, and that's my philosophy. I don't want people to feel like they're judged for using a certain essential oil brand on my channel. Now we got to talk a little bit about why I switched. So if you are interested in all the different kind of brands, essential oil brands I've used, I actually linked down below. You can watch this video after. It's my brand journey where I talk about how I started with Young Living, went to doTERRA, basically solely used doTERRA. And then once at the end of my doTERRA, just doTERRA stint, I started trying different essential oil brands. And then when I started aromatherapy studies, I left doTERRA completely, branched out, experimented, tried different kind of brands. Some brands I liked, some brands I didn't like, some brands I loved. And then I went back to doTERRA near the end of my aromatherapy training. And then now I'm just kind of using a bunch of different essential oils. Primarily, I do go for plant therapy, Revive, and Floriana. So if you want more information on that, you could check out my brand journey. Why I left the MLM company, I made a whole video, 16 reasons why I left the essential oil MLM community, company, all that kind of stuff. Again, this is just my personal opinion, my personal journey. This does not mean that people should have to leave the MLM community by any means. It's just kind of me sharing the 16 reasons why. But pricing did play a role, obviously, because it is a lot less expensive buying from non-MLM companies. But I mean, to each their own, right? And if you are curious about specifically differences between doTERRA and plant therapy, when I was using both and both were my favorites, I did a whole comparison video in depth comparing doTERRA versus plant therapy on different kind of aspects, such as like selection, blends, safety on children, all that kind of stuff. I broke it all the way down. So if you want to be watching that video, I have a plant therapy versus doTERRA video you can find and watch after this. Also, if you're really curious about what I think about Revive and a quick Revive review, a year and a half before I became a partnered with them, before I became an affiliate, I made a non-biased review of Revive, pros, cons, and answer some questions people might have. So if you're interested in that, definitely you can check it out. But there's lots of reasons. I think deep down, the whole idea is that I don't believe that there's just one or two good essential oil companies. And I wanted to get out of the MLM space as well. And pricing definitely does help. So yeah, I'll leave that down there because I'm not sure exactly which part you'd like me to get into a little more. So I'll leave that there. If anyone's here and they want more questions, need to go in depth, feel free to ask. I'll come to my next slide because I don't really answer that many questions in the comments to these. Next is, where do I actually find safe information and training if not for my brand my essential oil brand? So one thing I want to say is it really depends on which essential oil brand you're with. There are some essential oil brands that actually teach proper safety. I know there's a lot of essential oil companies that have their even safety lessons, which are really sketchy. As an aromatherapist, I see a lot of essential oil reps from certain companies like this teaching unsafe stuff. because their company says it's safe when it's not really that safe. So I'll give you some options. Like I said, it depends on your brand. One company I really like in terms of safe information would be Plant Therapy. They actually have their own blog. So that's a cool way to have free information, free safety information on essential oils, is you can check out their blog even if you don't purchase from them. So an example is if I'm wanting to know more a little bit about pregnancy, or I like to compare my knowledge, essential oil safety with pregnancy with other aromatherapists, sometimes I'll look up Plant Therapy blog topics. So Plant Therapy blog, pregnancy and whatnot, and it'll bring you to that. So that's a cool way to get a lot of safe information, whether or not you use that company. However, not, here's the little, but not all the information is 100% transferable. Like the devil is in the detail in some circumstances. What I mean is that sometimes people say, oh, well, Plant Therapy has a kid safe line, so if it's safe at Plant Therapy, it's safe at my company as well. Yes, most of the time, but not always. An example would be for cardamom essential oil. Plant Therapy's cardamom essential oil, generally speaking, is kid safe, but in other companies is not kid safe. It's not because of the brand. It's not because the brand is bad, the other ones. It's because it really has to do with the chemical makeup of that essential oil, natural occurring chemicals. So if it's high in 1,8-cineol, which it is in a lot of companies, it will be unsafe for kids, whereas cardamom with Plant Therapy, if it says it's kid safe because the 1,8-cineol levels would be lower. So take it with a grain of salt when you are looking at the Plant Therapy safety blog if you don't use Plant Therapy oils. But generally speaking, it's a great resource. It's a resource I still use once in a while. Next is essential oil safety books. So I'm going to share with you one that I use and I love. As a aromatherapy student, aromatherapist, I think everyone should have it, but it's not easy to read because it is made for healthcare professionals. I did a little video comparing my top safety resources, being these 3 ones here. I'm going to link it down below if people do want to get more into it. So basically what I do say is like, this is the best of the best. If it's going to be difficult for you to read it, maybe best getting like Leah Jacobson's books. But my new recommendation would be that if you are not in a rush to get essential oil safety books, I would say hold off on this. I don't know if Leah even sells these anymore, and there's just, I don't know, I don't 100% agree with everything that's in here. Robert Tisserand is planning to come out with a book that is easier to read, and it'll be new and updated to this. Okay, it doesn't make this invalid, but I'd be waiting for that if I'm not in a rush to get safety books. Robert Tisserand's new and improved, easier to read book. What else do I have in there? Oh yeah, just, following different aromatherapists on social media. That could be good to have exposure on different kind of ways they teach on using essential oils. Aromatherapists that write books, blogs, all that kind of stuff that could be really cool to get into as for resources. I'm hoping that kind of help. And something I'm going to say that I might get that might upset people, I'd say just be careful when you buy MLM related books. I have a lot of them. I like them. They're easy, but they teach a lot of unsafe and questionable stuff. So I would say be careful with MLM related stuff. Right. So for example, I like to order from Aroma Tools, but it's affiliated, but not affiliated with doTERRA. There's a lot of books that I do take it with a grain of salt, or I filter through a lens of safety with my other safety book, if that makes sense. Next question. If anyone has any questions, again, feel free to ask if you're live. How much of essential oil do you take internally? What for and how? So this one I was surprised to have this question, but I'm glad you asked it. I'm going to give a little bit of an overview, some good news, some bad news, and then some of my convictions on internal usage. So if you have been in the essential oil safe space long enough outside of the essential oil MLM community, you'll realize that internal usage of essential oils is really controversial. If we look at different aromatherapists, there's some aromatherapists that say, no, never take essential oils internally, it's dangerous, all that kind of stuff. And then you'll see different aromatherapists that will say, when it's done correctly and safely, it can be done. And then you have other people that recklessly talk about and promote internal usage of essential oils in a very unsafe, dangerous, and risky way. So I do believe that there is a safe way to use essential oils internally. but not necessarily how a lot of people teach about it. So I'm glad that you asked this. And with the good news and bad news, I'm going to start with the bad news. The bad news is that for me personally, I haven't really gotten to depth on the internal usage of essential oils in my aromatherapy certification. But I am enrolled in a course, which I'll be taking later. But better news is I'm actually going to be inviting somebody that I know and respect that has a lot of experience with essential oils and essential oils internally that I hope to be inviting on a live. So I'll be able to ask her all these kind of questions that people have about using essential oils internally. What does that look like safely? What does that look like? How can it be done? Really kind of more in depth. So stay tuned for that. I'm hoping to have her on sometime within the next few months. Stay peeled. Keep your eyes peeled, and make sure you're subscribing and following me also on Instagram, where I'll announce it before it happens. But I will share with you some of my personal convictions in terms of using essential oils internally, even though I'm not getting into quite details and protocols, which I don't know if I'll ever be able to do, even if once I am more educated on it. I would say, you guys probably already know this, but using essential oils internally is riskier than using it topically or breathing it in. If you are on certain kind of medications, if you have certain kind of health conditions, there may be different essential oils to be avoiding, particularly because of this, especially internally, because there are some risks that aren't there when you're using essential oils just on your skin. Again, you guys should also know, probably already know, that there's some essential oils in general that shouldn't be internally anyways. I'm not a huge fan of daily usage of internal usage of essential oils or using it just as a prevention. I don't really agree with that. I would always make sure they're properly diluted when you're using internally, and I don't believe in using essential oils in water, which is something that I see highly promoted all over social media. So that's just kind of my quick convictions that I'm hoping to get someone on that will be able to share with us a little more. Next question. Is it safe to diffuse a citrus oil that is 2 years old? This is something that I actually reached out to some of my friends that are aromatherapy students, because I was like, I don't know a clear-cut answer. But I'm still going to talk about this a little bit just to give you guys some things to think about. So for me, I'm not sure if there's a clear-cut answer like I mentioned. I did a previous video, a previous live on essential oil shelf life, which I'll link down in the description. You can watch after this, where I talk about the different shelf lives of essential oil. And there are some essential oils that once they are past their shelf life, you are recommended not to be using them on your skin because they can create different kind of unnecessary reactions, sensitizations, irritation, all that kind of stuff. But can you diffuse it? I mean, that's something that I'm still trying to figure out a full answer on, because I know there are some essential oils that once they are oxidized past their shelf life, that it's recommended not to use them at all. I don't know if citruses fall under that category. I have a feeling not. So if you are watching this and you're an aromatherapy student, aromatherapist, or someone who has really looked into this and you want to add to this conversation, feel free to add that to the comments. But please leave either your sources and or where you've studied and what your program is, so we kind of know your credentials. But for me, I'm not super concerned about it. I have used and diffused citrus oils that are over 2 years old, or that are 2 years old. Some essential oils, they'll say, like, for example, I think it's grapefruit, we'll say like 1 to 2 years is usually the shelf life. But I've seen aromatherapists in France say that it's 2 to 3. So even seeing it from France towards like North American or like English speaking, there are some differences. So that being said, there might even be people who are in France that don't even think its shelf life is past. So 2 years, I'm not really personally that concerned. But again, if you do have problems or irritation or things that come up, don't do it. But yeah, I'm waiting for those comments for if anyone is watching the replay later and they have things to add to this. But citrus fruits, I'm not too concerned. I have to look into that more. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, ask. But I'm going to finish off with this. I am an affiliate. I'm partnered with two different companies. So if you ever do want to order Revive Essential Oils for the first time or plant therapy for the first time, feel free to use my code to save money, Essential Life 10 at Revive to save $10 off your first order, and JESSIEG to save 10% off your first order of plant therapy. Of course, if you're a returning customer, you can still use my link. It does help me and help fund this channel. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I hope you guys have a lovely day. And if you have any questions for next time, feel free to ask in my Instagram stories. There'll be some videos popping up here. Take care and bye-bye.